Have you ever stopped to look at the coffee cup on your desk? I mean, really look at it. Not just as a vessel for caffeine, but as an object that exists in space and time.
I feel like you're about to take me on a metaphysical journey, but knowing you, we're actually heading straight into economics.
You know me too well, but seriously, think about it. The ceramic, the glaze, the handle design, the heat retention, someone, somewhere had to combine raw earth, massive kilns, human labor, and a specific design blueprint to make this thing appear for $5. It feels like magic, but it's actually a formula.
It is. And that formula is exactly what we call the theory of production. It's the backbone of everything we consume, from that coffee cup to the smartphone recording this conversation. It's the study of how we take stuff, inputs, and transform it into things, outputs, without wasting time or money.
Right. And that's the hook for me. Because on the surface, production sounds like factories and smokestacks, very industrial revolution. But the logic behind it, it applies to everything. It applies to how I cook dinner, how a software company writes code, maybe even how we manage our relationships.
Absolutely. At its core, the theory asks a simple question: how do we get the most bang for our buck? But it's not just about money, it's about resource allocation. If you're a producer, you have inputs. Economists usually group these into 4 big buckets: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
Let's break those down, because land sounds a bit feudal, doesn't it? Like we're farming in the 1600s.
It does sound old school, but land really just means natural resources. The clay for your cup, the water in the coffee, the electricity powering the factory. Then you have labor, which is the human effort, mental or physical. And capital, which people always confuse with money.
Wait, capital isn't money?
In this context, no. In production theory, capital is the machinery, the tools, the buildings. Money is just what you use to buy the capital. A hammer is capital. The cash used to buy the hammer is just financial capital. The hammer is what actually does the work.
Got it. So, the tools versus the bank account. And then the fourth one? Entrepreneurship?
The secret sauce. You can have clay, a kiln, and a potter, but without the idea, without the organization, and the risk-taking to combine them, nothing happens. Entrepreneurship is the spark that turns a pile of resources into a product.
Okay, so we have our ingredients. We have the inputs. But the interesting part is the relationship between inputs and outputs. I remember hearing about the production function. It sounds like a terrifying calculus equation.
It can be terrifying if you look at the math, but the concept is intuitive. It's basically a recipe. The function tells you, if I put in X amount of labor and Y amount of capital, I will get Z amount of output. But here's where it gets messy. It's not linear. You can't just double the ingredients and assume you'll get double the cake.
Why not? If I have one factory and I build a second identical factory, shouldn't I get double the production?
In the long run, maybe, but let's talk about the short run. This is where things get dramatic. Imagine a small pizza shop. You have one oven that's your fixed capital. You can't build another oven overnight.
Okay, I'm visualizing it. One oven, one guy tossing dough.
Now business is booming. You hire a second guy. Output goes up, right? You're making way more pizzas because one guy preps while the other bakes. You hire a third guy. Output goes up again. This is called increasing marginal returns. Everyone is specializing. It's beautiful.
But I sense a but coming.
Big but. You hire a fourth guy. It's getting a little crowded. You hire a fifth guy. Now they're bumping into each other. The oven is full. The fifth guy is just standing there holding a pepperoni, waiting for shelf space.
And the sixth guy is probably just checking his phone in the corner.
Exactly. This is the law of diminishing marginal returns. It is the single most important concept in production. As you keep adding more of a variable input labor to a fixed input, the oven, eventually the additional output you get from each new worker starts to drop.
That's fascinating because we see that in corporate life all the time. You see managers thinking, we're behind schedule, throw more bodies at the project. But if the infrastructure, the oven, isn't big enough, you're just creating chaos.
Precisely, you're actually driving efficiency down. You might still be producing more total pizzas, but the cost per pizza is skyrocketing because you're paying 6 people to do the work of 3. That's the difference between technical efficiency and economic efficiency.
Break that distinction down for me.
Technical efficiency is just about maximizing output. Can we physically squeeze 100 pizzas out of this kitchen? Maybe, if everyone works like a maniac. But economic efficiency asks, is it worth it? It balances the cost of the inputs against the value of the output. If the 6th worker costs $20 an hour but only adds $10 worth of pizza, you are technically productive, but economically, you're bleeding out.
It's the just because you can doesn't mean you should rule.
It is. And this leads to the long-term view. In the long run, there are no fixed inputs. You can knock down the wall, buy the building next door, and install 5 industrial ovens. Now you've changed the scale of operation.
And that's where we get into economies of scale, right? The Costco principle.
Exactly. When you get big enough, you can buy flour by the ton instead of the bag. You can specialize your labor so one person just does sauce, another just does cheese. Your average cost drops drastically. This is why mass production won the 20th century. It's why your coffee cup was $5 and not $50.
But let me play devil's advocate here. We're talking about efficiency, like it's the holy grail. We're optimizing inputs, minimizing waste, scaling up. But is there a point where this theory breaks down? Or rather, where it misses the point of being human?
That's the deep question. The theory of production treats labor as an input L, just a variable to be tweaked. But L is people. L is anxiety, creativity, burnout, and passion. When you optimize strictly for the production function, you risk stripping the soul out of the product and the worker.
I think about that with the rise of AI and automation. We are seeing the ultimate substitution of capital for labor. It's hyper-efficient. But are we losing something in the output quality, or even in the societal value of work?
It's the difference between a handcrafted chair and an IKEA chair. The factory chair is a triumph of production theory. It's perfectly efficient, cheap, and functional. The handcrafted chair is inefficient. The carpenter took breaks. He maybe made a mistake and had to sand it down. But that inefficiency is where the character lives.
So, efficiency is a trade-off. We trade uniqueness and perhaps a bit of humanity for abundance and affordability.
We do. And as a society, we have to decide where on that curve we want to live. The market pushes us toward maximum efficiency because that's where the profit is. But as consumers and as inputs ourselves, we sometimes push back. We crave the inefficient. We pay extra for artisanal or hand-brewed.
That's ironic, isn't it? We use technology to master production, and now we treat inefficiency as a luxury good.
It's the ultimate paradox, but understanding the theory helps you see that. When you understand diminishing returns, you know when to stop working on a project because the extra hour isn't worth it. When you understand inputs, you know what resources you actually need before you start.
So, it's not just about factories. It's a framework for decision-making.
100%. Every time you decide to cook at home versus ordering out, you are running a mental production function. You're weighing your labor and capital, your kitchen skills, against the market price. You are the entrepreneur of your own life.
I like that. We are all talking production functions. Hopefully, operating at an increasing marginal return.
Hopefully, but we all have our days of diminishing returns. And that's okay too. Sometimes you just need to expand the factory, take a break, learn a new skill before you can ramp up production again.
That's a great place to wrap up. We've gone from coffee cups to the meaning of labor. It turns out, the mechanics of making things creates a lens for understanding how the world moves.
It really does. It's all inputs and outputs in the end.
Thanks for breaking it down with me. And for everyone listening, take a look at the next thing you pick up. Ask yourself, what went into this? And was it worth it?
See you next time.